lot that can change over the next couple of weeks still.
Yeah, as you can see, like 5th to 11th essentially is up all over the place because a lot of these teams still have to play against each other. You can pick up some much needed wins, and as we kind of crested over the halfway point, this is now where it starts to become very much not do or die, but both these teams are really going to be ramping up and making sure they are picking up these much needed victories.
Yeah, when you look at the amount of games each of these teams has played, I think the one with the least is LGD right now, who have only played 7 of their games. So maybe we get a late surge from LGD. Probably not. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Let's look at the games coming today, though, because LGD are not going to be playing today. Instead, we're going to start things off with the Little Lions against the angry blue face. I don't know where I'm going with that one. It's Suning versus TT is the ultimate conclusion of the weird analogy I'm trying to make. And then we go into BLG versus IG at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, when we're talking about teams who haven't at least played for a little bit, BLG definitely in that. We haven't seen these guys for a week, and it was before Chinese New Year before we saw them again. So I'm excited to see what BLG kind of have to show now that they've had a little bit of time to work on matters. So I'm excited to see them later on, but we will be kicking things off, as you said, with Suning versus the sad crying face of TT.
The blue. I should have said Smurf. He's a blue guy, right? It's his Smurf, and they have been. Well, I was going to say they've been smurfing. They really haven't been smurfing, let's be honest. But before we talk too much about the teams, let's talk about the meta, because it feels very much, Doctor, like we're having a bit of a meta shift, not even just in the LPL, but across the world. Over the course of the last few weeks, it's felt very heavily like we are getting later and later in the game. The game is slowing down. We're having more control mages in the mid, more scaling in the bottom lane with things like your center and your crit AD carries coming through. And even in the jungle, we're seeing more things like Sejuani is starting to sneak in and these kind of tanky engaged junglers.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, when we saw, at least from the jungle perspective, those nerfs hit the carry junglers, it started to open up avenues for some of these more tanky junglers to come in. And we'd already started to see that kind of late game creep coming in the bot lane with the Zayas and the Kai'Sas coming through. And now when you like almost triple down on the fact that we're starting to see Azir creep into the mid lane because of just how much control he offers, being able to deny kind of the mid lane priority that you want to go for those early dragons and some of these early objectives. It's making it a lot easier for teams to go, okay, cool, we're just going to opt into this full scaling. We can go towards picks like Sion in the top lane. We don't really have to fight that early, and it's making things a hell of a lot easier for these compositions that want to play towards more of a late game focus.
I mean, even IG has been playing scaling tank top lane comps, which is very not IG, but we'll see if the entire world starts to follow suit in that regard. It is feeling like that will be the case. But one player that will never bend to the meta, Dagda, that will never follow what you believe is good in the game. He does his own thing. He lives in his own style. It's the style of him, if you will. It's the Picasso of the Rift. You already know. It's SOFM. This guy, he doesn't believe in what is standard. Look at some of the builds on the bottom of your screen right now. SOFM, he's a player of his own, but we got to see this Shirelia's battle song Gragas the other day.
Yeah, and it was super interesting to see, obviously not having the high damage spike, but definitely giving that mobility to the rest of the team. But as you said, SOFM has always been a very, very creative dude. Like when we looked towards him back in Worlds, he brought out this Rengar pick to counteract the Evelyn that we saw in a series against Damwon. It was really, really creative. He was one of the first people back in 2019 to start building this Redemption Olaf because he was going for this more early game spike. Like he's been really, really clever with his builds, and I love that we're getting that creativity coming onto the Rift. I just want to see it a little bit more now when it comes towards the likes of his jungle pathing, because I want to see him actually getting involved in these early games for Suning, because if you can get the likes of Bin rolling, Angel rolling as well, I think you can do a lot of work here on Suning.
Yeah, it's one of those things where in the right scenario, this kind of thing can work out beautifully. But sometimes it can go a little awry as well, which we've seen from Suning so far, the split. They're very much sort of bottom middle of the table, and they could do with wins like this one. Let's talk about the mid laner, though, because if there's one shining light right now for Suning, it is the light of Shurima, because we just get these angelic Azir plays over and over again. You cannot let Angel have Azir. Every single time he gets Azir, he carries the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of a twofold thing, right? Because the first part is Azir just giving so much control in that mid lane, like pretty much being able to force priority against the majority of mid laners right now means that it's really hard for teams to make plays on the map without Angel being able to shut things down and giving the opportunity for Sunni to scale to the late game where their team fighting is able to win them these plays. But certainly even when we get to team fights then, as you can see on your screen right now, Angel's been smurfing. Like, pentakills picked up on this champion, consistently getting triples and quadras. Like, this is by far one of Angel's best champions, and especially in this series here today, we need to see TT ban this pick away or take it for themselves, because you cannot let Angel keep getting away with this pick.
He can't keep getting away with it, and especially in that last clip where you get to see him as Azir versus Kindred. I mean, we just saw the clip, but we all know how great of a matchup that is for Azir. Just knock everybody out of the ultimate and just run away with things. On the other side of the board, though, a little less exciting, because Suning, definite favorite coming in here. For TT, we've got some trouble in Thundertalk Town, because this is a squad that there is some potential there. We heard Kelsey a couple of weeks ago saying how hyped she was for Thundertalk, but right now, they are leaving a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I want to get onto the hype train with Kelsey. I really, really do. But whenever I look at this team, I'm just like, God, I don't know. Like, I do agree with some parts, which, like, look, Teen is incredibly exciting as a rookie coming into the split. But at the same time, he's kind of going for plays like this where he doesn't have the rest of TT in a position to follow up. Their engagement angles are usually pretty far off, and it means that even in situations from their last series against JDG where they had a sizable gold lead, they're still losing out on team fights where they're taking these engages, they're not coordinating properly, no one really seems on the same page, and they're losing out on these advantages. And it's why even when I look at them and go, right, well, they can get some early leads by playing around the likes of the Rift Herald. When we actually come down to them being able to close out games, they're oftentimes taking these bad fights or just getting picked off before they can really use the gold lead that they've gained for themselves.
Yeah, it's honestly, this series is going to be an interesting one, right? Because on the one hand, we've got TT, who, you know, in terms of the standings, not doing so hot for themselves. But realistically, the same can be said for Suning. They're only two places apart in the standings, even though Suning have 2 more wins than Thundertalk do, because of how close the middle of the table is. In terms of standings, this is 12th versus 14th. But the big weaknesses for both these squads seem similar to me, where you've got 2 squads that are fairly indecisive, and the decisions that they do make aren't always the best decisions. We could have some pretty slow games here, Dagda, that get a little bit fiesta-y towards the end.
Yeah, I think the big thing, though, is like looking towards the Rift Heralds in this game. Like, both these teams actually play pretty heavily around them. And we're looking at some of the stats for the likes of TT. Like, they have the second highest Rift Herald rate in the league and one of the highest first terror rates in the league as well. So they generally tend to play towards that big objective and trying to solidify some of that early gold for themselves. And then when we look across over at Suning as well, Suning are pretty much in the same boat where they've been heavily focused on this Rift Herald, and it's the only stat from the early game that is actually above average. Everything else, like first blood, the gold difference, the CS difference, is all kind of below par. So we'll be expecting them to try and play towards this Rift Herald again to try and facilitate some of the early game blunders that we're seeing coming out from Suning.
The Rift Herald should be a focus for both these squads. You see Suning stepping onto the stage there. The TT will join them as well. Both going to be in Shanghai today. And I have to say, when we look towards Rift Herald, mid lane matchup going to be very important, being able to force priority so you can move over quicker, as well as swapping your bot lane up. Well, whether or not the teams choose to do that is dependent on the compositions. But we did talk about Angel loving to play these control mages. Same can be said for Twyla. And Twyla's been an interesting player this year, because we saw him come in. It's him or Captain on the roster, right? Captain, super hyped up LDL mid laner that came as the champion of 2020 LDL, came into the squad, didn't really have a good performance to start things off, and then got subbed out for Twyla, who came in and didn't really have many good performances to start things off either, but they stuck with Twyla in the end. He then started bringing out things like this Renekton mid, and had this incredible game out of the blue. I think it was you and I casting Dagda, where it was like, okay, Twyla, this is the Zilean guy, this is the Lulu guy. We're expecting a really slow control mage, maybe the Cassiopeia or something. And he's like, boom, Renekton mid, and he just popped off. So at this point, to me, Twyla is one of the more exciting players on the roster, where maybe he will bring out these kind of doing BS dark technology picks.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of laughing about it when Hextech GLP got removed. We were like, well, Twyla's been nerfed. Just Twyla's out of the game. Nerfed. That's all he knows how to build. So I guess he's gonna find something else. And he definitely has, like, since that removal, upped his game quite a bit. And it's nice to see, especially as he will still play a lot of these more kind of disengagey style of champions, like the Cassiopeias, the Nikos, Zeers, even the Syndras as well. Like, we've seen him playing that style quite a bit, but it facilitates the style of TT quite a bit, where you have team that wants to be that big engage tool. You usually have Chalitza on some sort of like side lane pressure, or at least a bruiser front line for the team fights. So having him as kind of the, okay, let's reassess this fight, shove everyone back and try and reset things up favorable for us, fits TT quite well.
Well, we'll see if it'll fit him today as we get into Champ Select. We're going to have Gnar and Nidalee as our first bans from Suning here, despite being the Lions. They're banning two of the most lion-like champions. And over on the side of TT, Twisted Fate banned, and that Azir that we talked about being removed from the table, but another would-be mid laner with the Renekton being taken away from Twyla.
Yeah, I like that TT have taken away these here. We highlighted how strong of a pick this has been for Angel and how good he's looked on it. It does mean that there's a lot of junglers open at the moment though, so potential here to go towards something like the Udyr if they want to, or even take the Kai'Sa, which has been the big pick on this patch. It nearly has like, it's at 109 games right now. It nearly has double the amount of 80 carry games, or games than any other 80 carry in the league right now.
It's kind of insane, isn't it? And it's still 61% win rate, that Kai'Sa as well. So incredibly strong pick. Bonfong, great on the Kai'Sa as well. You expect that to be kind of a pop-off pick for Suning as we move through the game. But over to the side of TT, lots of power picks still available. Things like the Udyr. Looks like Olaf is going to be the selection in that jungle. You could go for an 80 carry yourself. You could go towards a support either. But the hover is center right now.
Looks like they're going to be taking the Olaf and the Zai here. I mean, Zai has been coming through as like the kind of go-to counter towards the Kai'Sa, just because you've got that range, you can try and stir her up, you've got a little bit of self-peel with your Featherstorm as well, but we'll have to see if they decide to go towards it. Looks like a last-minute change over towards the Rel, which has kind of risen up as the big support in that bottom side, and works very well with champions like the Olaf, because the Olaf can get the slow. You can then set up for that big engage with the Rel, or even offer the stun towards the Olaf when he does close that gap, just to help keep this Olaf on top of his victim.
Yeah, I have to say I prefer picking the Rel here anyway, just because you can pick your ADC third. They're not going to take another ADC. No need to prioritize that one. SOFM goes for the Udyr that has been probably the most picked jungler on this patch. Now we have a Gragas as well, which again, likely to go to bin. Could be flexed to on, could be flexed, I mean, wherever, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Quanfang Gragas, I'm ready.
Yeah, I think it'll be on, though, because honestly, the Gragas has kind of come through as this big counter to the Rel. You get the body slam to stop the Rel engaging, and when she is in that, de-steeded form where she's just walking around, it's so easy to get these casts in on top of her and try and set this up. So I think honestly that's what we'll be looking at here from on. At least we're getting the Rel though paired with the Samir, so certainly a very aggressive bottom lane to work around.
Yeah, I can't let this one go. De-steeded, dismounted.
Yeah, my brain is just not on.
De-steeded. It's not a word.
No. No, I was like, no horsey. I was like, I don't know what to say here.
Horseless mode. Less metal. We're going to have Camille and Aatrox banned away by TT. The Cassiopeia being respect banned by Suning here. I'd love to see something like a Zilean ban. If they ban Zilean, like, Twyla has succeeded in his career at that point.
I don't know, though. I think you're kind of looking at, like, the Orianna and the Syndra are the two big ones right now. Like, once you kind of get through that, it's like, well, Syndra, Ori, Azir's off the table, Cassiopeia's now gone, the Zoe's gone, the Twisted Fate, like, you're right the way down the list. There's, like, you're kind of going into that, you know, B to A tier. That's a Veigar. Wasn't a Zilean, but definitely still a Twyla special.
Yeah, I'm curious what we end up seeing in this mid lane now as TT gonna go for a Scion. This has been one of the standard top lane picks these days that is just able to survive most laning phases and scale up. Angel still has that Victor open. Victor something that he's leaned towards as well, but the Orianna you mentioned being hovered right now.
Yeah, so imagine we'll end up with like an Orianna and a Syndra matchup, unless they like heavily go towards like this dive style, which we're kind of seeing coming out from Suning. It's something like a Wukong or something for Bin in the top lane. Then you might see Twyla go towards the Nico, which has kind of been his prime like disengage tool when the Cassiopeia and this is gone. But we'll have to see what the decision is going to be. Bin could be giving us the Bwipo special here though.
I'm not going to talk about it until looked in. I don't believe it. I don't believe it until I see it. But you know what? If he goes for the Gangplank instead, I'm totally down for that because we've seen Bin's Gangplank many, many times before. He's played it 3 times this split, and he's looked amazing on it. It's very much one of his special picks up in that top side.
Yeah, it's been incredibly strong, and certainly into the Scion you can get some decent time to scale. He just has to be careful around that level 6 mark because there is the opportunity to set up for some really nice ganks with the Scion ult to knock him down. And the thing about the Scion, of course, is that with all these knock-ups, you're not really getting the opportunity to use the remove scurvy to get rid of that CC. So you will have to be careful as Bin, but certainly this is a matchup he'll be familiar with and should be able to scale relatively well into the later portion of the game.
Yeah, again, we're seeing this Syndra come through. Syndra somehow still being one of the absolute staples of the mid lane in the LPL, despite the fact that she now has less than 30% win rate. With as high of a pick rate as she has, that is unbelievably low. It's like the Graves pick. We keep on still seeing that Graves pick, even though the win rate is exceptionally low. I don't know about you, Dagda. I'm just not on board with the Syndra pick at all at the minute.
Yeah, it's struggling to find kind of its home in the meta right now because when we were looking at the kind of the earlier games from like the last split, well, I say pre-Chinese New Year, you had the opportunity, Syndra, to burst out a whole bunch of people, and certainly you did last year with the previous items. Now, though, she's kind of sitting in this odd space where she kind of wants to go for Luton's Tempest for the burst, but she oftentimes ends up going to Leandra's Anguish because there's so many tanks and she needs to burn through the front line a lot more. And she's opted into kind of being a CC boss. She doesn't have as much control in that mid lane as well, with champions like Orianna being able to go towards Merc threads first and just keep her in check. So overall, she's just kind of struggling a little bit to operate in the game-changing fashion that Syndra did prior.
Well, we'll see if Twyla can have a better run of it, but definitely looking towards Angel. He's on that Orianna. It's something he's played a ton of over his career, so should be a reasonably favorable matchup for him. But we'll have to wait and see as the game continues. But when we look across the board, it's definitely down to Samdi and Teen on the side of TT. They're the guys that are going to have to carry this game because Scion Syndra not really going to dominate lane in those matchups. But we all know what this new bottom lane can do, the Season 11 bottom lane, if you will. They can certainly pop off. Let's head on Summoner's Rift for game number 1 here between TT and Suning. Definitely feels like a kind of matchup that Suning should be looking to win.
Yeah, I mean, look, Suning have been struggling, and when you're playing against TT, this is definitely one that you need to be putting in the W column if you want any hopes of trying to push up towards playoffs. Because as you saw in the podcast before the show, myself, Lyric, and Munch, we all kind of doubt Suning's chances of really getting into, well, maybe not Munch. I know you had them in playoffs, but certainly myself and Lyric were kind of questioning whether they would be able to make it in towards playoffs. So, I don't know, especially when you're looking at this composition from TT, where Xiaopeng has so much control to play around that bottom side of the map. I'm curious to see if they can keep these dragons in check as Suning and stop TT from getting this early lead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, my audio is pretty low at the minute, but I'm pretty sure that was some Jayus and a crowd that we've got in the arena today. So that's pretty exciting. Feels like we're maybe coming back to normal. Late invade here from TT. I've just had it confirmed. We definitely do have an audience. I saw it with my own 2 eyes, so it's whether or not you can trust your own senses, you know. SFM starting on his Krugs here, as Xiaopeng is just going to stay in the jungle. He's on a ward. SFM knows what's going on here. Xiaopeng does have his smite, but on moving over as well. SFM going to try and contest this red buff. And it's going to be down to the smite fight. Who's going to be able to hit the D key? It is SOFM, and now Xiaopeng is in a little bit over his head on this one. Stayed too long, didn't have the support, and it's an easy kill for SOFM.
Oh, it's sad times for Xiaopeng. Generally, when we see like this late invade coming through, you try to force the opponent jungler out of their own jungle, and then you can try and split the map. But unfortunately for them, they didn't actually force SOFM out. He just goes towards his Krugs, and with being able to come across quickly, he'll be able to solidify that kill. Now, it does mean that at least the bottom lane for Sunny is going to be in a little bit of a deficit here, because is level 1, hasn't been able to get that experience in the early stages. So be careful here, because Sam D and team could try to expose this and get an advantage through being underleveled.
Yeah, we'll see if they can find that 2v2, but you'd expect Sunin's bottom lane to respect that and play very carefully. Xiaopeng now onto his Raptors. This is only his second camp. Obviously, he took the first Raptors on SOFM side of the map, but this is only his second camp on his half of the map, and he's been spotted on a ward. So SOFM right now, playing with full information of what's going on, will be able to go for that topside scuttle. I wouldn't be surprised to see SOFM grab a double scuttle here.
Yeah, especially when you've got this push from Angel in the mid lane as well. He's been doing a really good job of trading against Twyla. Usually you actually don't see the Orianna being the one coming out with the health advantage in these early stages, so fair play to Angel to be able to solidify that. They will get the double recalls coming through to get the TPs in, but it looks like SOFM actually just decided, you know what, I'm not willing to try and contest onto this bottom scuttle, so we'll give it a cross. But this faster reset, getting those boots, will enable SOFM to do a heap, and actually might find Xiaopeng here on the Raptors.
Xiaopeng's like, look, I've only died here once so far this game, and that's just not enough for me. So he goes for the re-invade. SOFM already there, though. Grabs his camp, and he's now got about a 2-3 camp lead for himself, or 2 camp lead here for himself, as the blue buff started by Xiaopeng, and I don't think SOFM's going to go in and contest. He's going to move over to his Krugs instead. So the jungle matchup kind of settles down for a second.
Yeah, this is a pretty nice... Oh, actually, bot side might get a gank. No, they're going to be able to walk away, but this is a pretty nice setup for Suning, who... Well, he talks about, like, TT want to be playing around this bot side, but because Xiaopeng's so far behind, they can't do anything.
Oh, no. SOFM, that's the second camp that he's outsmited from Xiaopeng this game. Xiaopeng flashes out with his life, but his dignity is in tatters at this point, as SOFM will take the wolves on top of that. And Xiaopeng, look, I appreciate that he's making an attempt here. I appreciate that he's going for these early invades and that, but it has all gone so wrong for him. Now SOFM can do whatever he wants. He can go wherever he wants on the map.
Yeah, and you can see it. He's just going to circle around. Raptors are about to spawn. Cool. SOFM can move in towards...
side here. This is going to be a 2v2 kill. And Huanfeng jumps forward to try and finish that one off the queue. Finishes it off, and Teen won't be able to trade it back.
I was too busy watching SOFM's party because I'm not going to get a chance to talk. They're going again.
Yeah, we got an action-packed game, and I'm okay with that one, to be honest. SOFM gets yet another camp as Xiaopeng is kicked out of his own jungle. Xiaopeng, you don't get to play today! As SOFM grabs the kill, and Biz's like, Chillix, did I say you could leave that tier 1 tower? I don't think so, buddy. You get back under the tower.
Oh, this is a disaster for Xiaopeng. Like, whatever about that bottom side of the map, like, Xiaopeng hasn't got to farm in so long. SOFM is going to take his Raptors as well, and look at where the lanes are positioned, right? Top lane pushed in, mid lane pushed in, bot lane pushing in. You don't even have help. Like, you can't even try and invade to get some of these camps back. SOFM is just going to sweep through his own jungle now, reset, and go and invade on towards Xiaopeng once again.
Yeah, the really sad thing is you see Teen had roamed up there to try and stop the SOFM invade, but it's already gone down. Now Angel's in trouble. His team comes in. Angel has his flash available, but he doesn't go for it. He's gone for it now, but it's way too late. The cannon barrage, though, final axe comes through. SOFM trying to trade on to Xiaopeng. The cannon barrage is there. Maybe they get one kill. SOFM gets out. Oh my god, the triumph saves him. How do they get away with a 1-for-1 there? On now, looking for a kill onto Twyla. Dagda, this is pure chaos. I love it.
The thing is, though, like, Angel needed to not give over those kills, because the thing with Xiaopeng has just gone, right, I don't get to farm. I'm going to start stealing away some of this experience from my lanes, and if he can get kills, that's the experience that could get Xiaopeng back into this game. If Xiaopeng's just sitting in mid lane sharing experience with Twyla, you're just putting Twyla further behind, and Xiaopeng is still going to be useless. So if Sunin's lanes can just play safe, they can use the advantages that SOFM has picked up. But right now, like, this is going to be a disaster for TT. If your jungler is this far behind, you're going to end up finding that, look, we can't go for these early dragons. We can't find these team fights, these front-to-back styles that our composition wants. And Sunin can let this gangplank scale up, give time for Orianna to scale up, and then look for the side lane split push with Bin, and look for flanks where they can get SOFM and Bin into position to put threat onto the TT backline.
Put respect on the name, but On not respecting this bottom lane at all, and Sam D should be able to pick up yet another kill on this bottom side. It's not going so well for Huanfeng either, as he's melted down, but almost traces the kill. Teen underneath the tower though, and he grabs the double kill for Sammy D. This is the lane we said needed to win, and they're doing everything they can for TT.
And this is the snowball effect on the opposite side. Remember what we said? Because On had got to move across to help SOFM, he was behind levels, he was behind experience, he wasn't able to soak up that first wave, and it gives so much control to Sam D and Teen, who are running away with this bottom lane. But god damn, Xiaopeng, I'm so sorry for you. This is awful.
Look at the CS difference. He's 34 CS up in the jungle. And he's like, oh, Xiaopeng, you wanted to do your red buff? I don't think so. Just runs in, and Xiaopeng's like, yeah, I can't fight this. I'm out of here. And now, Herald, you mentioned this right at the start of the day, Dagda, as an objective that both of these teams love to snowball through. And it's very clearly SOFM that will grab this one.
Yeah, SOFM will be able to grab that with, like, you're not even trying to contest the Xiaopeng. Like, if Xiaopeng goes towards an objective, he's only putting himself further behind. Like, the experience versus the time investment that you get from, like, Dragons and Rift Herald is just not worth it. Like, all he wants to be doing right now is farming every single camp he can possibly get his hands on and trying to get back into this game. Because you can already see a 40 CS lead there for Xiaopeng. Now, he actually is going to go towards the dragon to try and trade this, but you're going to see SOFM is going to be like, cool, I'm going to come back towards this bot side, I'll threaten you in dragon, and I'll just run into your jungle and take all your camps once again.
Looks like SOFM is going to opt out the dragon, maybe just because of that bot difference that's going on right now, because I'm not going to lie, if I'm looking at that bot 2v2, I'm definitely favoring TT, so I can understand SOFM not wanting to contest for now. Did get the Herald though, so the question will be where he slams that Herald. You could just go top with that one, because he's been the carry for the team before. He's doing pretty okay on this gangplank, but also you could try and send it to the bottom lane to help out on it.
Yeah, I think he'll be using it on this bottom side. Like, trying to get some control back is going to be great. There is also the opportunity as well to just try and hang on to it for a little while and see if you can use it to get a bit of mid priority, move Angel around the map, and then actually have Angel be that tool to help out this bottom side. Because as long as you can stop the bleed there, you're in great shape everywhere else. But the problem is, it's a pretty gaping wound right now. With that Immortal Shield bow already completed 10 minutes into the game, like, Sam D is massive right now. He has the capability to 1v9 this game with how strong he is right now.
Yeah, he is huge. And he's on the Samira, right? Like, if there's a champion in the game right now that can 1v9 Samira when she spins around, remember, this is 11.3, right? So you can still dash to allies. Samira is still exceptionally strong on this patch. This is not the live patch that you're all playing solo queue on. So Sam D, 3-1-0. He's finished his shield bow as well. He's in a really, really fantastic position to pop off in this game. The big difference, right, is look at the junglers. Turbo Chemtank already finished for SOFM. He's the first one on his team to finish a mythic, which is not something you see often. And now he's making a play onto Twyla. Look at him fly into the lane with the cannon barrage as well. What can you do? Twyla didn't have flash. There is no counterplay.
Yeah, the pick potential with how far SOFM is ahead is kind of nutty right now, and you're seeing it there. And I think we're going to see a lot more of SOFM in these bear slaps, because when we get towards team fights, he has to be the one essentially to keep Sam D in check. Like, the mobility on the Samira means it's going to be really hard for Angel to position the ball correctly to get shockwaves. Same when you look towards Gragas trying to land these casts. So expect, like, SOFM to just be flashing onto Sam D, or at least trying to jump on top of the Samira every time she goes in with the Infernal trigger to keep Sam D in check and stop him from taking over this game.
And that is going to be a much needed reprieve as well for Angel when we look at that trade, because Angel was starting to fall behind a little bit. It was about 10 CS behind at one point in that lane. So SOFM managing to get that gank in, get him another assist, close out the CS gap as well. Angel was able to, I think, grab a fight in the mid lane. So that will reduce the lead that Twyla was starting to build for himself. And it does mean that now we've got a winning jungle match. We've got a winning top and even mid. So it's just the bottom lane that's the issue for Suning right now. And it's the bottom lane that is very much the hope for TT. But Drake's coming up in 2 minutes, and you feel like maybe TT, this is the point of the map that they can leverage. But Suning want to fight on this one. Samdi already so low in the play. Jumps in, though. SOFM could be shut down here. Huge amount of gold into the pocket of Samdi. Bin's come in, but he's totally alone on the top side of the fight. Taking a bit of damage. Teen trying to chase this one down. He is one quick pirate, but he's still pulled back into the fray. Teen trying to chase this, but they've chased too far, and they're separated from the squad. The rest of Suning don't go for the play with SOFM down.
This is such a crucial win for TT, though. Not only do they get the kills, but getting farm onto Xiaopeng, shutting down SOFM, and all that gold going into the Samir as well. Like, this is the best way for TT to try and play this game and get themselves back into a winning position.
SOFM is giga big, but Samdi is giga bigger right now, because with that shutdown in his pocket, he's not head back to base just yet. I want to watch his inventory. You can see him recalling. Let's see what items he's able to grab for himself. It's going to be a big pickup. Chalitza looking for a 1v1 onto Bin. I don't think that's a 1v1 that Sion could win. Bin is going to be able to just clear the wave here and get out of dodge, I think. SOFM's moving up. Turns out Bin was just baiting all along. SOFM gets the stun. It is a Sion, though, so nothing much going to come of that one. Hey, Dagda, I just want to quickly update on something. SOFM's Herald is timed out.
True. And a lot of that has to do with this play. Because he hasn't actually had a chance to get anywhere, he goes down in this play as well. He didn't get to use that. So, again, like, more wins going in favor of TT. And the fact that TT have kind of identified, hey, look, we just play around this bottom side of the map, and we can actually get Xiaopeng back into this game. And like, as you can see there, only a 20 CS lead versus the 40 that we saw in the early stages of the game. Sam D is now getting more kills. He's looking really good. Like, TT are bringing this game back, and Suning, this is not looking as clear-cut as it did from the early snowball SOFM had.
When you consider where we were like 5 minutes ago, this is a dramatically different state of game. However, like, I would say that assuming SOFM doesn't get caught out like he did in the last fight, Suning are still in a good spot. It's just about whether or not they can get on Samdi. It feels like very much it's SOFM versus Samdi in this game right now. Ocean Drake is on the map though, and I think Suning want to force the play onto this bottom side. Samdi and Teen, though, I don't know if these are the guys that you really want to fight right now or how big Samdi is.
But that's what I was going to say, is that, like, with how big Samdi is, TT are actually okay to try and threaten this. There was a moment of opportunity where Xiaopeng was coming from the base that could have fought, but now it's a bit too late.
Xiaopeng moving into the mid lane here alongside Twyla, but they're just going to be kicked out by Angel. So mid prior will go the way of Suning, but TT are like, you know what? Sod mid prior, let's just go for the Drake straight up. SOFM's on the top side of the map. They're going to trade Herald for Drake here, unless some miraculous Q can come out, but On's going to fall just short on that one. Dashes over the wall. Pompon just getting a bit of damage in. But it will be TT now with 2 Drakes back to back here. And Suning should be able to finish this Herald off for themselves. Chalitza, I don't think, will have any way to contest. The question is, Dagda, can Suning actually press the right button and drop the Herald in a lane?
Look, it is tough, all right? You know, there's a reason Syndra's ultimate's called the outplay button. It's really difficult to find the right key on your keyboard sometimes to actually drop it. So I think we'll have to keep our eyes on SOFM to see if he's got those mechanics to pop it down this time. But honestly, I'm taking this still as a win for TT. Like, sure, you got that top tower going down, right? That's great. You're probably going to be able to get some damage, probably not fully take that mid lane turret when SOFM uses the Rift out there. But the problem is you're now looking down the barrel of a 3rd dragon with Inferno Soul on the cards for TT. And you're really far behind when it comes to just raw team fight damage. I know the gold lead is in favor of Suning, but with how big Sam D is, it's going to be really hard to keep this Samira in check. And you can already see, like, TT realize this. They're fully getting control of this bottom side. And if they're able to play through this Samira with the 4 kills, they can win team fights. And then Suning don't really have an opportunity to stop them taking this soul.
Ooh, Bin is stepping a bit far up this lane here. He's got 2 items, though. He is big, but he doesn't get to play when he's just CC'd like this. The Viking is there, and it's an easy kill for Chalitza. In the meantime, Honest caught out on the bottom side of the map as well. TT playing all the way across the map right here. Won't finish off the kill on the support, but a huge pickup onto Bin, who was, before that play, the richest man on the Rift. I think Sam D will have overtaken him again.
Yeah, Bin getting shut down is super nice, and that was exactly what we talked about with the opportunity where Sion's knockups don't count as CC that he can just cleanse, so it means it's very easy to set up for these ganks. Now that Xiaopeng has actually got himself back in towards this game. Rift Tower will go down in the mid lane, but the tower will be taken overall by Suning.
So important to mention here, to just quickly catch up with where we're at in the game. Bin did manage to get that first tower on the top side. Now with the Herald going mid, Angel finishing that mid tower, Suning have a 2-tower advantage over TT. If they can crack this bot lane tier 1 as well, going into the next Drake, they would have a huge advantage in terms of map control. The problem with that is you got to get through Samdi and Teen first. And we said coming in that Samdi and Teen, especially Teen, were 2 of the most promising players on this roster. They have proved it in this game. They're managing to bot gap against Suning right here. And you have to look towards that lane as the shining ray of hope for TT.
Yeah, I think the best thing for TT here is to make sure that they're just resetting on time. Because the biggest issue that I've had with TT in a lot of these objectives is that they're just not backing at the right time. Where it'd be like 20 seconds until a dragon and you're still seeing resets.
Well, SOFM running into lane faster than Chalitza would have been running if he'd managed to get that ult off. We'll flash away to safety. The TP comes in from Twyla, but SOFM's like, all right, 2v2, let's go. 3v2, I'll take this one on as Angel arrives. And Chalitza and Xiaopeng are forced away from the fight. Twyla runs away with his tail between his legs. You know, it looked good for a second there for TT, but they're too big, man.
And this is where I get a little bit worried for TT, because they still need to play around Samdi. Like, you could see where they tried to go for that play in top and also on the ramp there in towards the blue side jungle, or, well, back of red pit, basically on blue side, that they can't really fight unless they've got this Samira with them. And when you're trying to make these plays around top side, it's great if you can make a quick pick, but committing TPs on multiple members is going to end up being a little bit scary.
Yeah, the one big concern as well I have for the win condition of we need this Samira to pop off is Samira needs the ult to really, really pop off in a fight. And Udyr has this button on his keyboard. It's called E. And when he presses the E button, he turns it into a bear. And then when he can right-click anything, Samira stops getting to play the game. So it becomes kind of a difficult win condition to set up for TT unless they can get SOFM out of position, pick him off like they did earlier on in the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at right now, is this, like, stare down essentially between these two as they, like, look at each other across the rift. It's like the old school standoffs that you see in cowboy movies. It's just like the music starts playing. It's like, all right, we know it's about to happen. And with this dragon up, I thought it was about to happen, but it looks like Suning aren't really in a position to try and go for this. Although now SOFM moving across. Sam D still on the bot side though.
Yeah, Bin's going to TP in. This is going to be a fight for us right here. This is going to be the big old skirmish as Twyla stunned up. And SOFM now goes onto the Drake. Bin on the flank as On dashes away to safety. Wanfeng just trying to push that wave out before he moves up. Will now be free to do so. Xiaopeng steps up to the Drake now. Suning playing a battle on both fronts. There's an explosive cascade. In everybody goes. TT ground up in the middle of the fight, but they're able to group up and turn this one around a little bit. SOFM trying to get back in, but Sam D whiffs the ult a little bit. Nobody's in range, and it'll be 2 kills. No, Teen flashes away onto the blast cone now and gets out to safety. It's a 1-for-1, all things considered, but it's TT that have to leave the Drake.
Beautiful cast from On to set that play up, knocking the entire backline of TT into the waiting hands of SOFM. You can see SOFM is like happy to just chase down this Samira the entire way through the fight, which means the Inferno Trigger does nothing. So good fight from Suning. Great opportunity now to get this dragon and stop the stacking that TT have been getting in their favor.
Yeah, Suning able to get back on the board when it comes to those dragons, even though the fight wasn't that convincing. I want to just quickly look at the gold right here, because despite the advantages we've seen in the bottom lane, despite the few things that have been going the way of TT, gold right now is 3,000 in favor of Suning.
Yeah, this fight is such a nice boon towards that gold lead. You can see here, like, that cast setting up beautifully for SOFM. Again, Bin on these massive flanks, getting so much damage off, as Sam D is trying to deal with both Bin and SOFM, keeping him out. So you can see this Inferno Trigger just hits nothing. He's getting no damage off of that. And that's where Suning are able to go, right, we can get in here, we can set this up. But now with the 3,000 gold lead for themselves, these team fights start to look a lot easier for them.
Honestly, one of the big things there is if Bin's ulti was on the ramp instead of just in the river there, that could have been a much bigger team fight for Suning. So slight misplacement of the Gangplank ult. But I want to quickly revisit that Gangplank, because look at the items right now. Look at the CS that he's on. More than 10 CS per minute, and he has been for the last few minutes of the game as well. I've been checking. And he's getting towards that Infinity Edge. When Gangplank hits 3 items, Dagda, I don't know if TT can still team fight at that point.
I mean, it very much comes down to the positioning of their backline. Right now, it hasn't been the best, and it hasn't been the best for a long time. Like, as we talked about, like, the team fights are definitely where TT struggle. So when we're coming into the next few big objective fights, like 3 minutes on this dragon, the Baron that's up and available, we need to see if TT can keep themselves, away from the danger zone that is SOFM and Bin.
SOFM is definitely the danger zone this game. We'll see if Maverick can step up. Here we go. TP coming on through. Team the target as On will walk away with his life for now. Chalitza comes in, but he's knocked back. 1.3 firing as Team goes down Bin with some barrels over the wall right there. It's going to be 1 for 0. TT with position, but ultimately losing the fight. They lost the pick. And the rest of Suning can just regroup now, reposition, and go for the fight. Again, Bin off to the side, looking to get some barrels in onto the enemy team. Good by Twyla. He's off the poop deck. He's been forced off of the plank and into the ocean. Now Chalitza should be able to get out of here. Does have his flash available, but this should be Baron for Suning.
Yeah, these fights are so messy from GT. Like, you've got Chalitza's TPing in, and Sam D isn't able to even get in range to get an auto attack off the entire time before Teen and Chalitza are either dead or forced back. Now Suning full control over this Baron, and they should be able to nicely pick this up and continue to grow that gold lead for themselves.
Did you see that? Angel just pulled the red buff to the edge of the Baron pit so Huanfeng could last hit the red buff. That is some like 5-head buff stealing.
But we're going to be looking at this team fight again. Like, you've got the TP coming in here, but look at where Sam D is. Like, Sam D is continuously chasing this fight. When you've got a short-range AD carry like this, you need to enable them somehow to get into these fights, either by having a bunch of CC that can actually lock them up, allowing them to play around their shorter range, or by playing a composition that kind of, well, the opponents have to run into them so you can use the Samira. But unfortunately for Sam D, like, he gets maybe 3 autos attacks off in the majority of this fight before it's already set and done.
Sam D jumps in and he just gets chomped down by the Udyr in the end. I actually miscalled it during the fight. I said that Bin got Teen with a barrel. Bin wasn't even in the fight when Teen went down. He just ulted from across the map to finish that kill off. And then when he arrives, he just completely one-shots Twyla over the barrel instead. So Bin, even though he wasn't there to start with, still having a huge impact on the fight. And now he gets some free time to just push away in this bottom side. And let's be honest, at this point in the game, nobody can contest him.
Nobody can contest it right now, honestly. Like, the lead that Sam D had is pretty much gone at this stage, and the rest of TT are struggling to try and keep up. So Suning now in a great position. You can see Bin just with this Baron shoving away in the bottom side. Even if Chalitza comes across, well, that's kind of the tankiest member of TT just out of fights, and if On can get a good barrel, they can set up beautifully to take this turret.
Yeah, Suning can just set this siege up all day long in the mid lane, and TT will have to respond to the fact that Bin is pushing all the way to the inhib in the bottom side, and it opens up this window for Suning to move in onto the mid tower. Keep your eyes on Angel's Orianna ball. He's positioning it so aggressively, waiting for TT to step a little too far forward. Bin, though, taking a lot of damage from Twyla. Turns it around. Twyla barely gets out with his life. Now Bin's in trouble. Does have the shield from his shield bow, but will go down. Kill for Chalitza here. And I think Suning just have to back away. Drake is up right now, and this is a bad time for Bin to have died. 40 seconds on that death timer. Maybe this is an opportunity for TT. Twyla has his teleport available. You see it in the bottom side there. There's SOFM. He's tanky, but how tanky? That's a great cast from On to save his jungler, and he was just buying time. The Drake goes down. Wanfeng finishes it off. The shockwave to disengage, and that is very nicely played by Suning.
Very, very well played. If they'd actually let TT get in towards River, they either could have taken the fight afterwards or stolen the dragon, but being able to keep them away from the pit was so crucial by SOFM. But you can see here, Bin's damage is just insane. Bit overextended, obviously trying to get underneath the tower, gets rooted in place and then forced back, and the rest of TT can chase him down. But either way, like, Suning are still getting what they want. You're getting these towers down with the Baron. Bottom inhibitor tower is very, very low, and Bin can just rinse and repeat. He can head down towards this bottom side of the map. No real pressure on him for the next 2 minutes, and they can just look to pick up this next Baron when it spawns.
Yeah, when I said no one on TT can contest Bin, I didn't realize it was like, if you walk in range of a Q, he will one-shot you. I didn't realize it was quite that level of not able to contest. On wants a 1v1 onto Xiaopeng, who is 4 levels up on him right now, but he's got a stopwatch. He was baiting all along. He's still going to go down to the Reckless Swing. Pro tip for anyone that's watching, if you are a support and you're 4 levels down on the enemy jungler who's playing Olaf, probably don't start a 1v1 with them. SOFM, he's starting a 1v4 in the mid lane. Flashes out and just zips away at the speed of light. So he'll be fine.
Yeah, does have to burn the flash though, which can be pretty crucial in team fights. Like, not having that up for Baron or even the next dragon could pose a little bit of an issue, but Suning, with the full control that they have on the map, with top and bot pushing in, mid being in their favor as well, it's going to be really, really difficult for TT to try and contest these objectives. Like, the vision can get choked out pretty handily by Suning, and then moving through the jungle to try and get towards the likes of Baron is going to be a tall order unless they can have Chalitza lead the way.
We'll see if Chalitza can find a way in here. And on kill score, we're actually on a very even game. But unfortunately, kills aren't the only objective in League of Legends, Dagda. And when it comes to gold, it's Suning, 7,000 up. When it comes to Drake, TT got the first 2, and then Suning have got the next 2. They are on the stack right now. And it's stacking Infernal Drakes. That feels real bad for TT. Especially when you've got things like Wanfeng on this Kai'Sa, when Lord Dominic's is his second item, so he is hitting like a truck, and even Chalitza won't be able to survive an onslaught from him. And he's going to go for an IE 4th item. Wanfeng is going to start shredding people. He's been behind all game because Sandy was so ahead, but that lead no longer exists.
And that's the thing, that Suning have just done a better job about playing around the win condition that this game gave them, which was SOFM. Like, they were able to find these picks, consistently use Udyr to get on towards like the turnaround counter ganks to the top lane and that, whereas TT just haven't found an opportunity to really use Sam D. Even when there was like the likes of the dragons up, their setup for that objective really hurt where Sam D was in the bottom lane. They didn't really get the opportunity to push back Suning. And again, they're just not really playing towards where their strength was on the map. And now Suning have caught up and surpassed them and are in full control of this game.
Yeah, Suning and especially SOFM just sprinting around the map, going wherever he wants. On maybe has overstepped here. Chalitza in a position to force the engage if he wants to, but realistically, On not the best target they want to go for. Obviously, they can kill On, but the support not the ideal pick. And I think realizing that if they committed to that one, Suning would collapse immediately. TT, though, with positioning on the Baron right now, though.
You can see this is kind of like a desperation attempt here from TT. Suning are in a position to fight this. Careful of the Angel Shockwave when they're all grouped up in the pit like this.
All right, let's keep our eyes on the Orianna then, looking for the shockwave. Cannon Barrage comes in the barrel to knock everyone out of the way. Angel turns golden as Huanfeng is just shredding everybody. Angel flashes out and Huanfeng grabs himself a double just to start this fight off, but they're not done just yet. Chalitza trying to get out with his life. Scatter the Weak only stunning onto the support. Huanfeng jumps in, finds himself a third of the fight. Bin takes away the quadra kill from him, but they're just going to finish off Chalitza now. The flash forward from Huanfeng, exceptionally unnecessary, but who cares? They get themselves the ace.
They get the ace. They don't even care about the Baron. They want to crack open this base. And when you've got 20-second death timers left on anyone who's really going to put up a fight against Suning, they could look to end the game.
Another game win here for Suning. And, you know, this felt a little unfortunate, especially for the bottom lane of TT, who managed to get themselves such a huge lead in the early game. But SOFM making a massive valley of a jungle dip between him and Xiaopeng, taking game number 1 from Suning.
And it all came down to that early play from Xiaopeng and SOFM, where Xiaopeng getting found in the jungle, gets picked off by On, and from that point forward, SOFM is just able to pick up so many advantages, using them then to get in towards the lanes, turn around the counter ganks that Xiaopeng was trying to go for on that top side, setting up the rest of Suning for success. And unfortunately for TT, they had started to claw their way back into it. You can see Xiaopeng starting to go even level with SOFM. It actually started to look okay, and they were playing pretty well around Sam D's advantage in the bot side. But when it came towards those dragons again, this team fighting coming back to bite them, where they're just not quite setting up in the manner that they should for these fights and these objectives.
Yeah, the one big thing, though, that kind of jumps out to me in this one is the fact that Suning, yeah, they get the win in the end, right? That means that in game score, they're now 10-10, which when you consider this is the squad that went to World Finals just a few months ago, you'd expect them to have a better scoreline than that anyway. But they're up against TT, who are 2-7 in the league right now. Like, statistically, just one of the worst teams in the league. This was not like a top team destroying a lower tier team, right? This was actually fairly close between the teams. Felt like Suning had to play it very slowly and very carefully. I feel like Suning, as a squad, should be miles and miles ahead of TT, and it didn't quite feel that dramatic to me across this game.
Yeah, it was definitely confident from SOFM, but you could see in that bottom lane,
every game is confident from SOFM.
Yeah, but that bot lane was definitely struggling from Suning, and it's been one of the biggest criticisms I've had of the bottom lane. Now, I don't want to jump in too heavily on towards On, because of course it is his rookie year. He's still like trying to fill big shoes with Sword Art, but his On's lane phase has been pretty atrocious for a large portion of this. Like, when we get out of laning phase, like, his team fights have been great. You can see him setting up the casks. Like, his team fighting is actually quite strong, but certainly his laning phase has been letting down Suning quite a bit. And when Suning is a team that previously has kind of relied on, hey, we're going to let, you know, Angel just do his thing. He's going to lane it out, pick up a bunch of gold. It'll be fine. Look, historically, it's been the same story for Huanfeng. And when Sword Art was in the team, it was, you know, unleashing Sword Art from the bottom lane to go and work with SOFM. When On's laning phase is setting Suning behind in that bottom side, it means that you can't have On work with SOFM. They're not getting the same advantages towards Bin. And it's this kind of cascading effect that is really starting to hurt Suning. So I certainly think that we need to see the bot side of the map clean up for Suning, so this game looks a little bit more like we would have expected if it was the same game, but in summer 2020.
Yeah, it felt like Huanfeng managed to get himself a lead towards the end of the game, but it was off of the back of the lead the rest of his team had already garnered for themselves. We'll see if Suning can clean things up as we move into game number 2, or whether TT have something magical up their sleeve. So I'll have to find out in a few minutes' time. It wouldn't surprise me if they fight anyway. They're just going to try and burn this Drake, but it's not going to happen. Mako goes in. First pick already as Lucas tries to peel, tries to get the CC, but he's forced out of the fight. In goes the Shy, though. The knockups are there, but Viper still having a lot of HP. Scout of the week taking down some members. Look at IG pop it off. It's Puff wanting to keep his spot on this roster. Goes down in the end, but it's IG taking this one against all odds. They didn't have the ultis, but it doesn't seem to matter. The ace will come through for IG. He's got Finn moving over. Cannon Barrage about to come off the cooldown and immediately dropped onto the pit. Look at the low health bar splash in from Angel. Yakao gets into the pit for the Baron. His DPS in right now. He's low. Barrels go in. Bin gets one kill for himself and moves into the pit. Angel and Bin against the world. Double kill for the Pirate. Now onto the Baron they go. And it's stolen by Angel. Soon it come out on top. The hook now slides into the plate as well. And Kanabi is taken out of the picture. Nuguri taking a huge chunk from Beishong right before he turns Mega. Breathes in trouble though, has to flash. Stunned against the wall, but he's far away, so they can't commit to the play. FBX trying to start this Drake up as Breathe gets aggressed upon by LWX. Might just be able to swipe, but he misses the Vanguard's edge. That's so huge. Stun onto LWX and Beishong trying to finish off the kill onto the AD carry. The rest of WE arriving. Chris happy to tank up for now, but not for long. Goes down, missing, flashes into the fight and just dies immediately, missing.
The rookie is here. They're going to use the TP from the Shy. He has got ultimate as well. Will flash in, pulverize Mako, trying to make up for that first game. The Shy is there. Actually, interesting interaction there. Gets the knock up as they go straight in. Flandre is going down, but so is Rookie. They're trying to see if Lucas can get anything else down. They do get the Ornborn out. Puff goes in. He has got the Inferno trigger. Puff gets one. Puff gets two. Puff gets three. And Puff keeps the game alive for IG. Vice Scout does not have the Shrima Shuffle just yet. They're going to try and commit to this one on top of the Dragon. They get in, but they do not get the Dragon. That's third Drake here for EDG as the fight ensues. The rest of EDG trying to just keep themselves alive. It is Beauty who falls, but they trade it for JJ. Massive three-man knockup. It's a quadra kill out of nowhere for Viper, and they're going to try and gift him over to the Penta. They are going to give him over to him. Viper gets himself a Penta kill.
之前的比赛也有很多中路选手用了很多以前不在中路英雄嘛，我之后应该也会尝试更多的英雄。我觉得 TT 他们队伍主要是靠他们打野还有 AD 来 carry 的，我们只要陷入他们这两个位置就好了。
They need to limit the AD carry in the jungle. Well, they certainly limited the jungle in this game. That's pretty fair to say. I'm much more subjoined by Dagda as we head into game number 2 of this series. Suiting 1-0 so far. Sam D still managed to get himself a lead in that bottom side, but it wasn't good enough to close out the game in favor of TT. And, while we're on the topic of the junglers, while we're on the topic of who managed to find a difference the biggest, it was SOFM. I think that's fair to say. Yeah. That early game was all about the Udyr.
Yeah, it was sad to see. Like, just the very first kill onto Xiaopeng just put Xiaopeng so far behind. And from that, like, it's SOFM. This guy's a veteran. He knows that if you give him any sort of opportunity like that, he's going to run away with it. And it just, Xiaopeng for the first few minutes of the game didn't get a look in anywhere. And from that point, SOFM was able to set up the rest of Suning for success. And this is really how Suning do like to play the game is, hey, let's try and see if SOFM can get off to a nice start and let our laners just do their thing, and we'll come back and win in those later game team fights. And with the performance that SOFM put in today, he certainly commanded that early game to let Suning offer themselves towards that late game.
Yeah, the early game from SOFM was kind of insane. He had like, what, a 30 CS lead?
40,
like 5 minutes in the game or something. It's absolutely unbelievable. Bin as well had a commendable performance on this gangplank, but SOFM was able to do literally anything he wanted with the lead that he found for himself. And then in these team fights as well, able to be basically unkillable, just go in the backline and stop Sam D doing anything.
Yeah, that was the big one as well, was just how well SOFM was able to stick to Sam D in these fights. Now, it was set up very nicely by some of these casts by On, but certainly in those later fights, like you can see on your screen here, he just was stuck to this Samira like glue, and there was nowhere Sam D could work. It meant that even this early game lead that Sam D had managed to pick up for himself was completely negligible. By the time we got towards those later fights, Wanfeng was matching him on items, on gold, on experience, and then you just have the rest of the map that's actually just permanently ahead of the rest of their opponents. So very well played by SOFM to secure that game 1 victory in this series.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for TT ultimately, and for Sam D and Teen, who as a bot lane have looked really good and showed that here today. But for Suning, the top side of the map, incredibly strong and able to snowball through for that one, which means it's time to talk about game number 2. And I want to go back to something that Angel said coming into this series, which was that a lot of the other mid laners in the league that Suning have been playing against were playing kind of off-meta picks, champions that aren't usually mid laners. Maybe we need to bring that into our arsenal. So I'm curious if Angel will bring out some shenanigans here in game number 2. They've got a 1-game buffer now against TT, so if they were to lose the next game, it wouldn't be the end of the world for Suning. So I would say if you want to experiment with it kind of stuff, this is the game to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to bring out the funky stuff, this is the best time to go for it, especially like with the game 1 going the way of Suning. It's kind of the best time to have that chance. I don't know what you bring out, though, is the thing. Like, we know that obviously Twilight can bring out some funky picks with like the Zillions and the Nikos and this kind of thing, but they kind of fit that niche. And unfortunately for them, with the meta the way that it's going at the moment, oftentimes you don't get the opportunity to bring out that niche. So when we look towards TT in this next series, I think we'll still see the likes of the Azir band away to try and get rid of some of these very potent picks in the mid lane. But I actually don't know if they'll get the opportunity to bring in some of these more peculiar styles.
We'll see. I mean, he could even just be referring to something like the Seraphine, right? Because while Seraphine is like 100% presence pick ban in other regions, here in the LPL, we have seen it, but it's not like the be all and end all. A lot of teams are quite happy to just ignore it. So maybe he's just referring to things like these Moonstone mids, or maybe things like the Renekton that we've seen cropping up in a few teams. I mean, Twyla is one of the mid laners that's been willing to play that Renekton. So we'll have to wait and see. And maybe we never find out what he was talking about. Maybe he was just saying something for an interview, which is very possible. One thing I'd love to see is maybe the Galio. Like, that's something he played last year.
Yeah. I'm just laughing. We'll go through all these like shenanigans about like maybe we'll get this, maybe we'll get that, and then it's just Corky is here. It's just going to be an absolute whitewash. But either way, I think I'd like to see something a little bit different coming through. I like that you're kind of hinting at the Galio there, because I definitely feel like Twyla has worked best, as we talked about, with these kind of disengaged styles, and Galio can work very well with that. But just to double down on it, like something that enables Sam D so much more. And I think Sam D has been a big surprise for me coming into spring 2021, where I wasn't expecting a huge amount from him. Like you heard the way myself, Lyric, and Clement all talked about this guy was like, hey, look, you know, he's kind of a role player, didn't do a huge amount on V5, definitely facilitated by PP God. But we're actually seeing the reverse, where it's been Sam D who's still outperforming a lot of the other AD carries when it comes to that laning phase, and PP God has actually been the one that's fallen off. So to give Sam D's due, he stepped up as a really strong AD carry, which I think a lot of people were kind of surprised to see that development, and especially now paired with Teen, who is coming into his own role of like, hey, this guy is very aggressive in lane, can set up and pair well with an aggressive AD carry like Sam D. I think we're going to see that this is a bot lane that as they begin to grow and as Teen starts to kind of shake off some of the green behind the ears, they will step into their own and be a bot lane to be, well, maybe not dominate people, but certainly be respected in the mass of great AD carry and support players we have here in the LPL.
That's one of the big things is I think one of the conversations last year, obviously we're into pick a fan, but I'll catch up to that in a second. One of the big conversations last year was like, hey, LPL bot laners are kind of weak right now. Coming into this year, I feel like that story is starting to change a little bit, and duo lanes like Teen and Sam D are part of the factor there, where you need the entire region's bot lanes to level up for the very best bot lanes in the region to have to be exceptional to dominate, right? So we are going to see at the start of this draft phase, though, Azir made it through the bans and will be picked up by Twilight.
Yeah, I mean, look, we said how important this pick was, getting it away from Angel, but also just how much control it gives on the map. So not surprised to see that locked in. Does give both the Kai'Sa and the Udyr across the suiting, though. So you're trading two very big power picks across for Twyla's Azir here. So Twyla needs to make sure that he's making this pick work, because the amount of power you've just given to Suning is kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, Huan Feng in those team fights with the Kai'Sa was real scary in the last game. And SOFM on the Udyr had a massive jungle advantage over Xiaopeng. Will Xiaopeng go for the Olaf again is the question. Is he willing to go into the same matchup as before? I think not. I think that would be an unwise mistake to make twice.
I got excited when I saw the Elise, because I thought maybe we'd go towards like some of these early game champions. And don't forget, like Xiaopeng is like a Rek'Sai aficionado, and I was kind of like licking my lips in anticipation. Maybe we'll see that come through, but not going to be the case. Instead, we get the Lilia, kind of playing, kind of bored, whatever. It's Lilia. It looks like we're going to get the Nara in the top lane. Now, this actually does give a lot of control towards Bane in this top side of the map if they do go towards the Nara. Like, Bane is shown to be a person that's more than happy to go towards these counter picks like the Jace, or even something like the Aurelia or something along these lines. Like, I'm expecting Bane to just kind of go, cool, I'm more than happy to take this matchup.
Oh, does he lock it in? This is the Angel special. This was last year. In case anyone didn't see LPL 2020, Suning 2020. During the year, we saw a ton of Kassadin from Angel. It was Kassadin and Azir were his two picks. He's gonna lock it in. We get to see the beauty that is Angel's Kassadin. He's got a 100% win rate in the LPL right now, and I'm pretty sure that is just Angel, if I'm not mistaken. Angel has played it once and won with it. I don't know if any other mid laner has even picked it up this split.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that has picked it up. Not, at least not off the top of my head anyway, but I love Angel's Kassadin. I think it's so strong, and certainly like the Kassadin into Azir, Kassadin's perfectly fine to just farm it up. And because you've got that Rift Walk, it's so easy for you to step around the Emperor's Divide. You can't really set up some of these plays like you'd usually expect from an Azir that can facilitate junglers in the laning phase.
All right, over to the bans we go with Kalista being removed from Sam D. It's kind of a bit of a Sam D classic at this point. And the Jace taken away from Bin, so looking for an easier matchup for that. No, I wouldn't be surprised to see a GP ban as well, to be honest. But Vayne take it away from Sam D, one of the picks that can do very well into the Kai'Sa.
It can, but I like Vayne into like a composition with like a Kassadin and stuff can be a little bit difficult to operate. I expect that we'll still see Sam D go back towards something like the Kai'Sa here. or sorry, not the Kai'Sa, even the Xayah into that Kai'Sa matchup, get a little bit of self-heal for the likes of Kassadin, the opportunity to try and root Angel if he comes in on this Kassadin as well, just a little bit more flexibility in these team fights, and certainly gives you some nice late game scaling to pair with this Azir in the jungle. We'll have to see though if they decide to go towards that. Suning though, still looking towards a top lane or top laner or a support here. You already called it the Gangplank, and yeah, I like this. Again, Bin's Gangplank is so damn formidable and does really well against this Gnar.
Like, Suning are basically just drafting the same comp as last time, except they don't get the Azir. Instead, they get the Kassadin. I just had a look to check, and it is only Angel that's played Kassadin this split in the LPL. And importantly, he played it against OMG. The opponent he was against was an Azir. So clearly in Angel's mind, this is a real good matchup for Kassadin. The Senna locked in here for Sam D. So a bit more of a passive lane in that bottom side for TT.
It is a passive lane, but the problem that I'm seeing is that, like, Senna is kind of vulnerable, right? Like, if you can get these flanks coming in from Angel or for SOFM, there's not going to be a huge amount of places for the Senna to escape. And it looks like they agree with me, because they locked in the Tahm Kench alongside it, going, all right, we'll keep him safe. Also, with Teen taking that TP, does mean we're going to get the fasting Senna. It will be the farming Tahm Kench. So I like that you're going to provide a little bit of safety for this backline with the Tahm Kench.
I want to see the Blitzcrank from on. Let's see it. The classic Tahm Kench counter. Pull him in, break the shield. It's beautiful to see. I don't think we're going to see the Blitzcrank, though. The Seraphine hover, and it will be locked in. So, on bringing out that Seraphine down in the bottom lane, unless it's some kind of Kassadin support, which seems fairly unlikely to me. But slightly different composition coming out from Suning with two different picks in that Kassadin into Seraphine.
Yeah, I like the Seraphine pickup here. So one of the big things about Senna is that obviously she wants to try and get up. She wants to auto-attack, harass you whenever you're trying to farm. Here is this Kai'Sa. The Seraphine makes it a lot more difficult to do that. She can trade very effectively back. She can provide shields, which is going to be really nice for Quanfang in this lane. Plus, having that big ultimate is absolutely amazing. The encore in team fights, especially with the likes of, you know, the Kassadins and the Udyrs, where you're going to be very spread out in these fights, multiple chances to get these multi-man encores picked off. And it's not like you're in danger as the Seraphine have already been engaged upon the bot lane. The biggest issue with Seraphine bot is, like, you're looking at Leonas and Rels and Gragas's and Alistairs and everything else that just want to put you in the ground. That's not the case with Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is going to kind of wait for way far back with his tongue, and he's just going to look to farm it up. So overall, you're in a pretty nice matchup in this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, all of these other supports want to put you in the ground. Tahm Kench wants to put you in the water. So very different style coming out from the Catfish down in the bottom lane, and we'll see how that bot lane is going to pan out. Because, you know, when I think of Sam D, I think of domination in the bottom lane, right? I think of a composition that really wants to snowball in the 2v2. Senna Tahm Kench ain't that, but we'll have to wait and see. Twilight as well, pure scaling in the mid lane. There's a lot of scaling on the side of TT, which means it could be down to Suning to set the pace of this game. Generally speaking, though, that's not been Suning's strength.
I mean, realistically, how do you set the pace of a game when you got a Kassadin? Like, this is kind of just both teams going, cool. Early game, yeah, we'll go make a cup of tea. You go do the same. We'll let it sip away on it, and we'll just farm it up.
We've got Gyos again. I keep forgetting that Gyos are going to happen because we've not had them in ages. I can't hear them either. But I'm just excited at the concept, you know. Xiaopeng going to move in, gets the ward down, gets a cheeky little tag onto SOFM, and we'll get kicked out of the map. SOFM wants to deny the recall, I think, but won't go for the chase in the end. Important thing to mention, Twilight is aware of how simple this matchup is for him. The matchup goes last hit a bunch. So he's like, okay, I'm going to start Cull. I'm going to get a cheeky bit of extra gold. And I like that decision. And now Bin and Chalitza in a 1v1 to the death. Nobody tried to leave. Chalitza's in trouble though. Bin's winning this one out. Another Q would maybe finish the job. Can't quite do it, but in comes Angel. Oh no! Kassadin got first blood. It's already over.
Oh, it's a disaster. I don't even know why Chalitza was trying to go into that bush. I don't know what he was expecting. Like, just if you want to spot where Bin is coming from, just place a ward instead now. Chalitza, no flash, first blood given across, and no TP. SOFM, if he really wants to, can even start to like teeter up towards his top side and see if he can make play happen there. Although, off of that initial fight, he is a little bit low in this jungle, so may not be able to make it happen just yet.
Yeah, I feel like knowing SOFM as well, this guy wants farm. He's just going to go get his chickens and go to the bottom side of the map. Will be spotted on that ward, though, as a 2v2 coming down in this bottom side. Team trying to push on forward, trying to force the fight. Stun onto Wonfong, forcing out the cleanse here. Nicely done by the bot lane of TT, but On is hit level 2 while all of that was going on, and it's Wonfong turning it on its head. Beautifully played by On and Wonfong. And they managed to win out 2v2.
It's a disaster. What happened? They're losing everywhere, bunch. It was supposed to be a nice, easy, relaxing time in the early stages. Instead, both TPs have been burnt on top of bot and they're dying everywhere.
Here's the thing, Dexter. We said Suning not that great at setting the pace, so TT are like, look, we'll set the pace for you. You don't have to find kills on us. We will give you the kills on a silver platter.
Nice guy, TT, huh? It's like, look, you know what, Suni? We know that you want to hit playoffs. We know how badly you need some of these wins, so we're going to make this a 2-0 for you. But, oh, God. Like, overall, like, if you're Angel...
Oh, no, team. Forced the flash away this time. Sam B's low as well, though. Oh, the damage. TT are going to get dived. SOFM's here. I wouldn't have been surprised to just flash for that one, but... he can just run in down the bottom lane. Now he goes for the flash over the root. Teen will be the sacrifice, but SOFM wants a little bit more as well. 2 kills for the Udyr. And every single lane is falling behind on the side of TT.
They don't even have a TP to help them. Usually you get a TP coming out of like Chalitza or Twyla or someone to try and help them, but they've already burnt the TP top, and they're painfully aware that you can just have all 5 members of Suning go bot side, so TT can't even have members come down to help them. This is a disastrous start for TT. Good call here from SOFM. As you can see, flashes over the binding, and Teen and Sam D, I don't know why you're trying to fight. Like, the amount of damage that comes out from Kai'Sa and Seraphine in the early stages is obnoxious. Not even to point out the fact that you're melee versus ranged, and Senna just doesn't do a lot of damage in these early stages. Like, she's still relying on these stacks to come through. She's not really packing a punch either with the healing or the damage on that Q, so you end up, unless you can like very quickly get the CC chain and just try and kill someone and whittle them down, it's not really going to do too much.
And Angel, by the way, while all of this is going on, is over the moon. You could see him earlier giggling on the player cam while everything was going off in the bottom side. He's playing Kassadin. He got gifted first blood on a silver platter, and now his bot lane is winning 2v2 kills, and his jungler gets a free double kill. And now guess what?
Oh no.
Sandy and team have overextended. They've got no summoner spells. Tom Kench is there to save the day, but SOFM, I think, can get the stun here. Sandy walks away. They're going to have to try and settle for team, but I think the shield should keep him alive. Oh, they walk away with their lives, but I mean, just look at the CS difference between the AD carries right now.
Xiaopeng is topside though, trying to make some sort of cross map happen, but I don't know if Bin's gonna give it to him. This is like, yeah, you're not even getting answers. This is the biggest problem, is that like Xiaopeng on this Lydia isn't really able to get too many answers. Like, unfavorable matchup in the top side that Bin can pretty easily walk away from. The Azir matchup in the mid lane, now you've got access to the Emperor's Divide as Twilight just hit 6, but before this you haven't really had an opportunity to answer, and it's not like there's a Rift Tower top side to try and make a play on the opposite side, so Sunny is just free to go for these plays over and over again.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly clarify something I said there. Obviously it's fasting Senna. That was a joke, but Dagda wasn't listening to me, so it just sounded like I'm an idiot. It was a joke, guys. I know what fasting Senna is. I was just trying to make it funny. SFM gets the first drink of the game. It's going to be a Scuttlecraft as well on top of that one. Oh, wait a second. Look where Angel is. He's level 6, and he wants to do some stuff. Looks like he's just going to get a ward and get on out of there.
Yeah, I'm running on very little sleep. I'm going to have people know after that early Sunday morning cast where I had to get up at 3:30. So I haven't really got my sleep schedule back. I'm a little bit sleepy, so apologies, Munchables. But somebody's not sleepy. At least is Chalitza in this top lane, who was now exhausted, but not quite able to get the kill on the bin.
He's sleepy after all of that action. There was a full second of action. Look at this. Finn doesn't even let him recall as he just CS's under the tower. Delays that recall so that they get to recall at the same time. Bin still has his TP, by the way. So I don't think he would use it to get back to lane here. Oh, he is. He's just going to try and deny a wave, I guess.
I'm just as surprised as you are. Like, you can't deny the wave here, but I suppose as a gangplank, like, your impact, if you actually TP to a fight, is going to be way less than ours. So I can understand why you want to try and deny it. I personally just kind of like having it for trying to make some of these plays happen. But I'm imagining now that like Suning kind of realized, hey, look, you know what? The TP advantages are going to be in favor of TT. We can actually just go back to what we were talking about earlier, is take it a little bit slow. Like, we've already got our advantages. We're already 2,000 gold ahead in this game, and it's not even 8 minutes in. Like, let's just scale. We know we have the scaling composition, so let's just play towards that.
Yeah, I mean, both teams do, though. That's the thing. That's the big problem with the way this game has gone. Yeah, like, we've got TT that basically just have to scale up and hope. Like, that's basically all that's left for them at this point because they've lost the early game already. But then on the side of Suning, you've got a Cassidy, you've got a Gangplank. Even Kai'Sa scales exceptionally well. Udyr is still going to be completely invincible in the late game. Seraphine's ult is still going to be a game-changing ult in the late game. Xiaopeng's been found out by SOFM, who's just doing whatever he wants this game. Twyla's here to try and punish, but SFM's still basically full health. Angel will be able to just use his ult to get away over the wall. Doesn't even need to. As Chalitza has had to move down, which gives more freedom to Finn in the top side to push yet another wave under that tower. Chalitza doesn't get to leave. He started a 1v1 with a jungler that he's the same level as. This isn't meant to be how League of Legends works. And SFM's like, oh, a blue buff? I'll take a cherry on the cake. What is going on, Doctor?
I mean, you did all the analysis. I can't even add anything. You're like, Bin's getting everything top lane. Chalitza's dead. Xiaopeng's kicked out. Riftchild's going to the SOFM. This is a disaster. This is honestly, this is what I expected when we wanted Suning versus TT. This is the dominance that I expected from Suning. But God, it's just mess after mess coming through from the TT laners.
Yeah, I guess they just needed to draft a little bit more scaling, and that's how they get the early game dominance. It's good to see here from Suning. 5-0 on the scoreboard. 3,500 gold lead. They've got a Drake, they've got a Herald, they've got kills on the casting, kills on the Gangplank, kills on the Udyr. It feels pretty good to watch Suning right now, and I hope that they can just not throw this now.
This is the part in solo queue where you start to go, oh, this is jungle dip. Oh, Xiaopeng, come on, do some. Xiaopeng can't do anything. Like, Teen is already, and Samdi have already heavily lost their bot lane. Chalitza has heavily lost his top lane. SOFM is free to do whatever the hell he wants on the map. Like, there's nothing that you can do here, Xiaopeng, that is ever going to make a difference. Because if you show up anywhere, SOFM just turns it around.
SOFM's just running it down this top lane. He's like, come on then, Bin, let's finish this tower. I've got a Herald. Let's babysit you and give you a whole chunk of gold. In fact, you don't even need to use the Herald. Let's just exist in the top lane so that you can take plates by yourself. And we don't have to share that gold. This gold's all for you. I've got a Gromp, so I'm happy with this one. We all know how much SOFM loves the cheeky little Gromp. And Bin can just top gap as much as he wants all day long. Now, Charm in the bottom side. That is nice. Followed up by Huanfeng. The assist in there for Bin as well, in case he wasn't rich enough just yet. And Angel gets to chase out onto Xiaopeng. Just gets the slow will back away from that one in the end. Look at the denial from Bin. He's just letting all of the minions die to the tower.
I appreciate that Sam D waited until Xiaopeng had left to invade on towards that vision from the bottom side, just to make sure you had zero support on that play. As you said, like, Bin, he's free farming. Like, he's completely forced Chalitza away. Chalitza has no vision, so has no idea where this Udyr is. So he's got to give up that top lane tower. And I mean, that 2,000 gold lead is now skyrocketing to a 6,000 gold lead at the 12-minute mark. Like, they're getting 500 gold a minute as an extra advantage. Like, that is insane.
Yeah, and Bin, I think, recalled with about 2,000 gold on that one as well. So this is getting real scary for the side of TT, but this is just a pleasure to watch if you're a Suning fan, which some of you may know. I'm a little fond of this team. Angel as well, by the way, has a CS lead as a casted over Azir. Xiaopeng has been found once again. We'll put SOFM to sleep, but SOFM's like, you know what? I needed a nap. That was very refreshing. Thank you for
I'm getting serious deja vu. Like, we've seen them invade on that top side literally, I think, 3 minutes ago. But this time around, instead of actually getting the Rift Herald, they're going to use the Rift Herald in this mid lane, get some nice gold going over in favor of the Udyr, crash Twyla's turret, and then they're looking at this bottom side, but it looks like at least Sam D and Teen have spotted this out. They back away from any would-be play from Suning, but SFM is still stealing away the entire bot side camps.
Yeah, he's just going to move into this bot side jungle, clear it away. Any vision? Sam D will be able to get the Krugs, or at least take some of the Krugs, as Bin is now taking SOFM's jungle, because SOFM doesn't need his jungle. He's got Xiaopeng's jungle. Oh my goodness. SFM now maybe has overstayed on this one. He actually got the Krugs with the dot from the red buff there.
Okay, the TP.
And now he's just going to turn onto Xiaopeng. Twyla's TP'd in, but I think he's too late because SOFM's already got a kill. And he's completely invincible. Look at him. He's still surviving. The heal's going to come through. Oh my days. He gets away with it again. He can't keep getting away with this Dagda.
That's not allowed. Why? Why can he run into 3 people and walk away? This champion is stupid. God damn it.
Bin with a really weird flash there. He really wants this 1v1.
It doesn't
and
matter.
Chalitza, he's going to go down. Dagda, this game is unbelievably over. It's a 7,000 gold lead at 13 minutes. Like, they are just doing whatever they want. This is no longer a competitive LPL game. This is now just Suning messing around like it's
cyberbullying. This is just cyberbullying. There is a very high chance that this could turn into a perfect game. I'm like,
we need the bully hunters. Where are the bully hunters when you need them? Everfrost comes in to lock up Xiaopeng. They can't do the double dive just yet, and Angel's out of mana. Maybe Twyla can answer. No, he can't. He's got to bounce there. The bodyguard at SOFM just blocking everything. Bin in the meantime is sieging a tier 2. Guess what? Angel's out of mana. There's a blue buff available if they really want to give it to him.
I thought I'd curse Suning there for a second where Angel was going to die, but like, genuinely, like, how do you stop this, right? Because as Suning, you take Bin, pop him to the side lane, Angel goes off to the other side lane, and they just take turrets. Like, Twyla and Chalitza clearly cannot hang on here, and I'm sorry, but this is bullshit. Why is SOFM able to run into 3 people, get a TP, and also more people down, and they just walk away? Like, this is not fair. How is he even gets the kill? Like, that's just not fair.
And he got the Krug. And he got the Krug on top of it. He is level 11. He's a higher level than anyone on the enemy team. He was a higher level than Angel during that fight. SOFM is on another plane of existence in this game. Look at the turret plate difference. 1,760 gold to 160. That is
It's close,
insane.
though. It is close. It is fairly close.
Yeah, it's close in the amount of digits in those numbers. Because one of them's 4, one of them's 3. There's only one difference, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you just take out, like, one figure from that, they end up pretty much even, so.
Yeah, if you get rid of the 7, then they are exactly even. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here we go. That's some analysis for you, ladies and gentlemen. Some quick maths, if you will. We are going to see the Moonstone build coming out from Xiaopeng, which is kind of interesting. Don't often see the Moonstone Lilia in LPL. It's usually the Leandries.
The thing is, like, with the phase rush, it does make sense, right? But honestly, I think he's just like, this build's cheaper, and I ain't got no gold. I got nothing. I got nothing in the tank. Like, I think this is more of a... although I do like it in this, I also think it's just like, hey, look, Moonstaff, I can afford this. That's about the extent of it. Actually, it's like I'm not going to jump in. It's Vime's theory of the boot. That's what we're seeing right here. There's going to be few people that understand what that reference is, but I'm a bit worried about a team fight kicking off. So,
are we really going to call these team fights though? 9,000 gold lead at 16 minutes. I'm not sure that this is fightable.
Angel's on an inhibitor turret. Why do they need to fight? You know?
Yeah, Angel can just chill, but also I'm pretty sure 3v5, the rest of Suning could take this. If Bin just stays bot, Angel stays top, I'm pretty sure Suning can still win that fight somehow. Recall finally came through from Chalitza, as Angel has done 3/4 of the inhib tower. We're 17 minutes into the game.
Nobody's even come back to defend him. Like, this has just been pure PvE essentially for Angel for the past few minutes. He's now level 12. I'm sure there's a clock going in chat somewhere as on. Really gets cut out there.
Yeah, SOFM completely ignoring that his teammates are nearly dying as he just does the Drake. Huanfeng will grab the crab. 3 bounties across the team here for Suning. The only ones not with a bounty is On and Bin. And now we get cross-map resets, which is bad news for TT because while for a second they'll be able to step onto the map, it does mean they're soon going to come back onto the map. And they're going to have a whole bunch extra items. Look at Bin's inventory. He's already got 2 items at 17 minutes. His Gangplank plus 2 crit capes. And then in the bottom side, you got Huanfeng. He's got a Cracker Slayer. He's going towards Lord Doms.
Exactly. Yeah. Bin is so rich that instead of getting 1 cloak, he's just started them as like pauldrons to either side. When he spins, it is so majestic. It is unbelievable.
Oh yeah. And you know his arms are just feeling royal, if nothing else. He's just looking magnificent with the double capes. Well, Doctor, how was your weekend, mate? I'm running out of topics in this game to talk about because this is about as brutal as it gets.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, at this stage, I'm kind of like, do I just stop casting the game to go and start packing for my flight? Is this now the time where I wiggle in a couple of extra minutes to let that happen? I'm not actually sure, because we're still looking 8-0, like 10,000 gold lead at the sub 20-minute mark. Like, we said this could be a perfect game. This could still be a perfect game right now.
Oh, that's true, yeah. You're not wrong.
There was one plate that went across. It's the only thing that's gone so far.
Hey, plates don't stop perfect games, man. Plates don't count.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought they were going to go in on that. They were definitely not going to go in on that.
Because this is the LPL.
I just feel bad for Xiaopeng. You know, of all of the players on this team to feel bad for right now, it's Xiaopeng. Because from a very early point in this game, he has just been denied his entire jump. It's so unfortunate to have to watch. Angel doesn't quite get this blue buff, so at least they got that going for them. I think Xiaopeng got that with the dot in the end. They would have loved to give that over to Twyla. Yeah, that's the silver lining I've got. Is that they got
Xiaopeng has just kind of been like, you can see Twyla was in the mid lane and kind of like looking back, giving him the thumbs up, like, I got priority, mate. Don't worry, I got your back. And then you look at the 2 massive fires that are going on in both bot and top lane. You're like, it don't matter. Like, we're still being outnumbered and we're still gonna die.
Oh, Twyla gonna be able to. Well, yeah, no, he's dead. Angel gets a kill. I want to talk about the top lane here, Doctor, because I think ultimately this big difference in this game was top div. When you look at how this all started, it was Bin catching up Chalitza at level 1. The snowball that came off the back of that, like the lead that Angel got, the lead that SOFM managed to get, were all based on the fact that Bin started the game with a huge advantage. Angel flashing out to safety. Maybe they can catch him. Ruin the perfect game. No! Can they do it? The slows there. The TP's coming in. Angel's trying to get away, but he's put to sleep. The charm across the team. Angel surviving. What? The fleet's alive. No way! How did they get away with it? Angel gets the double kill, and Teen will fall as the cherry on top. The perfect game continues, and now Chalitza and Mininar is getting chased solo by SFM under the tower. Angel's full health and full mana again. He went back and TP'd, I think. It's the only explanation. Now they're going on to the inhib. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to end the game. I think that would be a little overzealous. Let's play this safe. Let's keep the perfect game soon.
Remember, this is the day you almost caught Captain Angel Sparrow. I don't know how he managed to survive that one. Like, he went down to, I think, maybe 15 HP. And on just somehow that Moonstone Renewer and the shields coming in clutch to keep him alive. Like, I'm hoping in the replay they actually do show us how much health he went to, because that has got to be like next to nothing. But like, even then, like, why are you jumping onto the Kassadin? Like, if there's any member that I would full commit to here, it's the Gangplank that's in that bottom lane. But either way here, like, this health is minuscule. Like, Moonstone Renewer, the heal, even having that magic damage shield coming in off the Q, I think might have helped him survive there as well. Like, that was insane.
The big thing, by the way, Sam D died while all of that was going on. The big thing is just that he got the double kill. He was the one to get the kills in that situation. Is just like insult to injury, rubbing salt in the wounds of TT here. And now 2 inhibs gone already. We're 22 minutes into the game, and 2 inhibs have been taken by Suning. They can move towards the bottom side. Drake is up. If they fancy a Dragon Soul all this game, they don't need to. It would just be a luxury if they felt like going for that. Barrels in from Bin, taking out half of people's health bars. He's on 3 items at this point. He didn't even need to go for an IE. He's gone for some healing reduction instead, just to make sure that they don't get to play the game. And now this bottom inhib is going to go. This is maybe the most one-sided game we've had this entire split. They're looking for the perfect game, and they're going to dive the Nexus towers to try and achieve that. Charm across the squad. In goes everybody.
On! No,
and it's going to be on. No, on! What have you done?
No,
Wait,
it didn't count. He died to the tower.
if
It was
it's
an execute. It doesn't count.
They didn't get a
doesn't
kill,
count.
right?
It's a zero.
So it's still
I'm seeing a
technically
zero.
the perfect game. They're going to try and finish this one off. I don't know if they realize it's a perfect game. Angels playing this one on a knife's edge. I don't know if it counts. It's 0-14. No towers, no Drakes, no Heralds. Surely the perfect game.
That has to count, right? Executes count, I'm assuming. Like, the fact that you do, I'm pretty sure that counts. I'm kind of.
They didn't get any gold for it.
That is the most one-sided game I have cast my entire career in the LPL. Like, that is insane how one-sided that game was.
I just want to add to this as well that Quanfeng's Lion's Mane is looking magnificent. He's clearly attempting to become Suning incarnate. And I'm all here for it, you know. I'm all about that. Suning with, as you say, the most one-sided game ever.
The thing is, like, I'd expect that from like someone who's been in quarantine for a little bit of time to have that luxurious lion's mane, and it's like, you know what, I didn't really have much time, but he's able to get a haircut. Like, this is just like, you know what, I'm rocking this, and honestly, it is quite impressive. But as he said, look, domination from Suning. Angel picking up that early kill just meant that, all right, well, I'm totally fine in this mid lane matchup. You've got Chalitsu burnt his TP top. So he's not really able to go toe-to-toe against this Gangplank, especially in a poor matchup like that. You got to back early, you're just screwed. And then the bottom lane, we had the double kill that goes across as well. So literally the entire map is on fire. And you see poor Xiaopeng just sitting there, just like, what do I do? Guys, like, I haven't even cleared my Raptors yet. What do you want from me?
And one of the really funny things I think about this one is that's the second game of Kassadin we've seen this split. They've both been Angel, and that's the second game of Kassadin where Angel hasn't died. I don't know how many kills and assists he got at the end of that game, but he was 0-0-12 on Kassadin in the first game that he played. So he already had a 12 KDA, and now that's going to be even higher off the back of this one. So Kassadin, statistically, maybe the best champion in the whole LPL.
I don't even know. That was just ridiculous.
Oh,
like, the fact, like, the TT were able to, you know, have a somewhat coherent early to mid game last one. Look, I know Xiaopeng, it all went astray for him, right? But
in both games,
they were able to bring it back. They're playing around Sam D. They were getting these advantages. It actually looked like they were competitive against Suning. To then come into this game and they're just like, where's my keyboard? I forgot how to hit buttons, essentially. And ended up dying everywhere, and the map was insane.
And Chalitza's got to have his head in his hands on the back of this one. That was a really, really rough game for Chalitza. I have to say, I've got a little bit of respect for Samdi and Teen in this bottom side for taking those bad 2v2s. Even though that ultimately they were bad 2v2s, right? That's not a 2v2 that Senna and Tomkage win. Like, understanding that everything is already so giga doomed on the top half of the map that maybe we're going to try and pull off some miracle here in order for us to have any win condition whatsoever. By the way, this is a 23-minute game. Yeah.
I think that's the most solo queue statement you've ever made. It's already doomed. All right, we're going in bot lane. Let's just go.
That's how it works. That's how it works. Look at the damage from Angel. He was the top damage in the game as a Kassadin in a game that lasted 23 minutes. Dagda, this is not how League of Legends is meant to work.
I mean, it is when you just get a bunch of kills going across. I don't know. TT confused me this game. Like, why Chalitza felt the need to face check Bin in the early stages, I don't know. Like, a ward would have sufficed if you really wanted to try and spot out where he was, or have support if you want to go and get vision as to where SOFM is. Like, there's multiple ways that you can actually get vision of where that jungler is without just plonking yourself straight into a gangplank. And then the bot lane. Look, I can respect the first attempt from Sam D and Teen where they nearly did get the kill onto the Kai'Sa, right? They nearly killed Quan Feng. But unfortunately for them, once that first one went across, then the second one, and then the third one, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this has gotten a bit out of hand here. So I don't know. Like, there's not really much to break down here. Suning, that was just domination. And certainly, like, we say that Suning's early game isn't that strong. And, like, statistically, they're not, right? Their first blood percentage is below average, their first terror rate below average, their CS difference of 15 is below average. Like, they are not playing a very strong early game, but their team fighting is still really damn good. And if even their ability to play the mid to late game when it comes towards macro is still pretty good. So the fact that you're kind of just gifting them this pass to get through the early game to that point is not going to bode well for you.
Or a pass to not even need to go to that point because the early game is so one-sided. Like, that's the thing. Suning aren't the best early game team in the LPL, but TT are worse, and that's all that matters. So, Suning just roll a 23.5-minute win. Easy peasy. We're going to go home and get some Heidi Lau, I guess, because, I don't know. I don't have much to add to this conversation, Dagda. I'm not going to lie. Off the back of a perfect game, what on earth do you say for TT here?
Well, that was the thing. Like, I looked over, so for people who don't know, I got like the game on my screen and there's like a little bar on the right hand side that shows me and Munch. And all I see is like halfway through the game, Munch is just gone. He's back. He's just kicking it. He's just like, you know what? This is over. I don't know what you want from me. And I was just this is.
Am I wrong?
This is so doomed. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. That was the game. That was definitely a game of League of Legends. Yeah. I think that's unarguable. But pretty much anything else could be argued at this point. TT, look, at this point, all I want to say is, Kelsey, maybe you got to pick another team at this point. Maybe it's time to move on because I don't know what you have to fall back on at this stage. Even Xiaopeng got absolutely bodied in this series.
This went from Sam D crashed waves to Sam D just crashed and burned.
Sam D was the only thing remaining for this team, man.
I mean, I suppose the first game
looked pretty
game
good at game
2
one.
Was a bit.
Yeah. Game 2 was his desperation. Game 2 was like, look, we may have a terrible bot lane, but God damn it, we gotta try. I respect that. Yeah. With that said, though, Kassadin, I guess, is pretty good in games where you have a free win. Yeah.
Well, I think the actual
is really good on Udyr too.
The actual interesting takeaway from this is like maybe we actually do not looking at this game as like the inside, but we could definitely see the Kassadin coming out a little bit more as an Azir counter because it is something that works very well. Gives the opportunity to play side lanes. And can be a menace in these team fights, especially if we are starting to look towards, the later meta that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, our MVP for game number 2 is going to be SOFM. I think you guys probably already knew that because the man looked like he was in a playground. He was just running around, playing on the swings, playing on the slide, playing on the helter-skelter, doing whatever he wanted, having a whale of a time while doing it. 4-0-2. And just, let's be honest. The reason he's MVP is because Xiaopeng's jungle was SOFM's jungle. That's the top of bottom. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is like you're talking about him like running around playing on the swings. Every time he crossed to a new portion of the playground, he would kick over Xiaopeng's sandcastle that he's trying to build, or like just end up stepping in a puddle that would slap dirt all over Xiaopeng's face. Like SFM played this beautifully, but you gotta feel sorry for Xiaopeng. Like, the jungle just wasn't his. And at least for SFM though, like these kind of plays were what set up that early game for Suning so well. The nice flash over the binding, and then being able to find so many opportunities to invade, get onto a Xiaopeng, make really ridiculous plays like you're seeing on your screen. Like, it was all good in the day of a new year.
Yeah, I think the funniest part of it, I mean, this was the play where it was like, oh, come on, that's not fair. That's not okay. This is a great charm from On, and then obviously, I mean, this is clips about SOFM being the MVP. SOFM wasn't even a part of this fight.
No, see, he slapped him. He got one punch in there, you know?
He got one auto in.
I think that's the thing when you got Suning just hitting themselves, you're just like, I don't know, we're just going to take it, I suppose, and run away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what else to add. I'm out of things to talk about in this series. I'm just excited.
Save us.
In game number 2. I'm going to kick it over to Wendy. She's standing by. We got an interview. Get me out of here. Over to you, Wendy.
Hi everyone, welcome to interview. And now we have Andrew from Suning with us. So first of all, congratulations on a very clean and perfect 2-0 victory. Are you satisfied with your performance this time? 那首先恭喜你们非常漂亮2-0拿下了胜利嘛。那今天对自己整体的一个表现还满意吗？
今天对自己的整体表现还算比较满意，但自己还是有一些失误的，希望下次可以打得更好一些。
Generally, I'm quite satisfied with my today's performance, but still I made some mistakes here and there, so I hope in the next matchup I can perform even better. And let's move on to today's game. And in game 1, SOFM was quite dominant in controlling all the jungle area, but at the same time, the opponent's AD carry Samira skilled quite well. So could we know more about your in-game strategy to enlarge your advantage to get the game 1 cleanly? 那其实我们感觉第一局 Sofen 他整个在野区是比较有统治力了嘛，掌控野区。但是同时对面的 ADC 那个萨米拉其实也是发育的特别好，也拿到了人头。所以想问一下，你们是怎么样在整个的游戏中去扩大自己的优势，最后稳扎稳打拿下比赛的呢？
主要是我觉得对面 AD 虽然装备比较好，但是我们阵容是比较克制他的，然后我们决定来小龙团，然后我们站位站得比较好，然后那一波好像大4个人，然后我们就来扩大自己比赛的胜势吧。
Although I think the opponent's Samira got a quite good item build at that time, but I feel that our draft can counter her a lot in the games. And also, I feel in the around the Dragon Pit, I was able to use my ultimate to target on the fall of the opponents and win a perfect team fight. And from that time, we feel we can easily win the game. And also in game 2, in the third pick, you have locked down the Kassadin, one of your signature picks. So could we know the reason for that? 那其实，在第2局的时候，你也在第3手就很自信地锁下了卡萨丁嘛。那卡萨丁也是安卓选手的招牌英雄之一了，所以想问一下，为什么会在第2局这么自信地拿下他呢？
因为卡萨丁在面对沙皇的时候已经是一个比较好英雄，然后再加上对面是一个 AP 打野，我觉得那个时候选卡萨丁这把胜算很高，我自己很好发挥，所以我就直接选了。
I feel in facing against Azir, Kassadin can be a super good choice, and also the opponent's jungler is an AP jungler champion. So I feel this Kassadin can be a super good choice to fit in our composition. And also, if I can just skill up quite comfortably, I feel like we have a super good win rate in getting the game 2. And also, you guys game 2 seems quite one-sided, and you guys were able to get 4 kills in the very first 5 minutes. So at that time, we feel you are just able to get the win, and could we know more about the early game communication inside the whole team? 那其实第2局就正如你所说，其实也是比较的一边倒，而且是胜算蛮大的嘛。那其实，在前5分钟你们就已经拿到了4颗人头，那个时候会不会就已经觉得胜券在握了？那整个前期对我有怎么样的一个沟通吗？
那个时候我们大家都说，我们这把尝试要不要给对面1个人头吧，我们大家要玩稳一点的，然后来获得比赛的胜利。
At that time, I think the team's communication between our teammates is like we try not to give the opponent's team any kills. We try to stabilize ourselves and we can get the win easily. And my last question is, in order to get qualified for the playoffs, I think the every win victory is quite crucial and very important. So are there any special preparations you guys will to make in facing the following matchups? 那最后一个问题也是，那为了能进到季后赛，接下来每一个胜场、每一场胜利都非常的重要。那在接下来的比赛中，又会做哪些特别的准备吗？
在接下来的比赛中，我觉得我们会尝试更多大家还没有见过的阵容吧。
In the following matchups, we will try to get some unexpected compositions inside the game. And good luck for the following matchups. 那也是再一次的恭喜你们，也希望你们接下来比赛加油。And back to you guys. Bye bye.
I just thought maybe the Kassadin was one of the unconventional picks he was referring to, because it's certainly not meta right now. But he found an opportunity to play the Kassadin. Angel feeling good off the back of the win, as you would expect. Yeah, fantastic day for Suning and Suning fans. Bit of a sad one for TT fans out there, all one of them, Kelsey. But yeah.
Not to name names.
This is going to be yeah, not to name names. 2-8 now in the standings. This is going to be a tough recovery for TT, but an important win here for Suning to be able to. These are the kind of wins that you got to get if you want to make it to playoffs. We're going to go into a quick break, Doctor. We'll be back though. We've got IG versus BLG as our second series, and this one should be a little bit better. This one should be a bit of a banger because let's be honest, IG series are always bangers. We'll see it in a few minutes.
Can't be worse.